Now, psychopath. It's a term thrown around casually, often sensationalized by Hollywood. But the reality is far more nuanced, far more pervasive than you might think. We're not talking about axe-wielding maniacs lurking in the shadows. We're talking about individuals who walk among us, often charismatic, often successful, yet fundamentally detached from the moral fabric that binds most of humanity. Their minds operate differently, their emotional responses are blunted, and their capacity for empathy, for genuine connection, is severely compromised. Psychopathy exists on a spectrum. Not every individual exhibiting these traits is a dangerous criminal, but understanding the underlying mechanisms of this personality disorder can be crucial for navigating the complexities of human relationships. It's about recognizing the subtle cues, the red flags that might otherwise go unnoticed. It's about protecting yourself, about safeguarding your emotional well-being in a world where not everyone plays by the same rules. And that brings us to the crux of the matter, identifying the signs, peeling back the layers of deception to reveal the truth about psychopathy. We're going to delve into the behavioral patterns, the psychological underpinnings that distinguish these individuals. This isn't about demonizing or ostracizing, but about equipping you with the knowledge to make informed decisions, to set healthy boundaries, and to ultimately protect yourself from manipulation and harm. The first sign, the one that often stands out most glaringly, is an inflated sense of self-importance. Now, we all have egos, we all crave recognition to some degree, but with psychopaths, this egotism takes on a grandiose, almost delusional quality. They believe they're superior, exceptional, exempt from the rules that bind the rest of us. This belief manifests in a constant need for admiration, for validation, for being the center of attention. They might brag incessantly about their accomplishments, real or imagined, and dismiss the achievements of others as insignificant. This inflated egotism stems from a deep-seated lack of empathy. They simply cannot grasp the perspectives, the feelings, the humanity of those around them. Their world revolves around their own needs, their own desires, and everyone else is merely a pawn in their game. This disregard for social norms, for ethical boundaries, can lead to a blatant disregard for rules. They might cheat, lie, manipulate, all without a shred of remorse, because in their minds, the rules simply don't apply to them. They see themselves as above the law, above the constraints that govern normal human interaction. This sense of entitlement, of being special, can be incredibly seductive, especially in the initial stages of a relationship. But beneath the veneer of charm, beneath the surface of confidence, lies a dangerous disregard for the well-being of others. So, how do you recognize this exaggerated egotism? Pay attention to the way they talk about themselves, about others. Do they constantly seek praise? Do they belittle the accomplishments of others? Do they exhibit a blatant disregard for rules or social norms? These are all telltale signs that you might be dealing with someone whose ego has eclipsed their capacity for empathy, for genuine connection. The second sign we're going to explore delves into the realm of impulsivity, the unpredictable nature of the psychopathic mind. Now, it's important to remember that psychopathy isn't just about a lack of empathy, it's about a fundamental disconnect between thought and action. The ability to plan, to consider consequences, to regulate emotions, these are the hallmarks of a healthy, functioning mind. But in the psychopathic individual, these regulatory mechanisms are often severely compromised. They might jump into risky ventures without a second thought, engage in reckless behavior without considering the potential repercussions. This impulsivity can manifest in various ways: substance abuse, gambling, sudden outbursts of anger, or even criminal activity. It's a life lived on the edge, a constant pursuit of stimulation, without regard for the collateral damage left in their wake. This behavioral chaos stems from a distorted reward system. They're driven by immediate gratification, by the thrill of the moment, and they lack the foresight to consider the long-term consequences of their actions. This can make them incredibly unpredictable, even dangerous, as their behavior can shift on a dime, leaving those around them bewildered and hurt. It's a whirlwind of excitement, of drama, but it's a whirlwind that inevitably leaves destruction in its path. So, how do you navigate this behavioral chaos? The key is to recognize the signs early on, to set firm boundaries, and to refuse to be drawn into their vortex of impulsivity. Remember, you cannot control their actions, but you can control your reactions. The third sign we're going to delve into goes to the very heart of human connection, the capacity for genuine emotion. Psychopaths are often described as wearing a mask, presenting a carefully constructed persona to the world. This facade can be incredibly convincing, especially in the initial stages of an interaction. They might appear charming, charismatic, even empathetic, but it's all a performance, a calculated manipulation designed to achieve their own ends. Underneath this mask lies a profound emotional shallowness. They lack the depth, the richness, the complexity of human emotion that we take for granted. While they might mimic the outward expressions of emotion, laughter, sadness, anger, these displays are often fleeting, superficial, lacking the genuine resonance of true feeling. This emotional disconnect stems from a different kind of neurological wiring. Studies have shown that psychopaths exhibit reduced activity in the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for processing emotions, particularly fear and empathy. This neurological difference contributes to their inability to experience and understand the emotional nuances of human interaction. They see emotions as weaknesses, as vulnerabilities to be exploited, rather than the foundation of genuine connection. So, how do you discern the insincerity, the emotional facade? It's about paying attention to the incongruities, the mismatches between words and actions. Does their behavior align with their expressed emotions? Do their actions demonstrate genuine care and concern? Are their emotional responses proportionate to the situation? These are the subtle cues that can help you distinguish between genuine emotion and a carefully constructed performance. The fourth sign we're going to explore delves into a darker aspect of psychopathy, the tendency to exploit others for personal gain. Now, we all rely on others to some extent. That's the nature of human interdependence. But with psychopaths, this reliance takes on a parasitic quality. They view others as resources to be exploited, as means to an end, without any regard for the well-being of those they use. This parasitic lifestyle can manifest in various ways: financial dependence, emotional manipulation, or even physical abuse. They might borrow money with no intention of repaying it, use guilt trips to get what they want, or isolate their victims from support systems to maintain control. Their relationships are transactional, devoid of genuine reciprocity or care. They lack the fundamental understanding that true connection involves mutual respect, mutual benefit. They see the world as a zero-sum game, where their gain necessitates someone else's loss. This parasitic tendency can be incredibly damaging, leaving their victims emotionally drained, financially depleted, and often traumatized by the experience. So how do you break free from this parasitic grip? The key is to recognize the signs early on, to set firm boundaries, and to refuse to be drawn into their web of manipulation. It's about reclaiming your autonomy, your self-worth, and understanding that you deserve to be in relationships that are mutually beneficial, not parasitic. The fifth sign we're going to explore delves into a rather unsettling aspect of psychopathy, a blunted response to disgust. Now, disgust is a powerful emotion, a primal response that helps us avoid things that are harmful or repulsive. It's a crucial part of our survival mechanism, protecting us from disease, from contamination, from things that could threaten our well-being. But in psychopaths, this disgust response is often significantly diminished. They can handle gruesome images, violent acts, or morally reprehensible behavior without experiencing the same visceral revulsion that most people feel. This high disgust threshold is linked to their blunted emotional responses, their lack of empathy. They simply don't process these stimuli with the same emotional intensity as others, leading to a detachment, a coldness, that can be incredibly unnerving. This lack of disgust can manifest in various ways. They might be drawn to professions that involve violence or suffering, engage in cruel acts without remorse, or exhibit a callous indifference to the suffering of others. Their emotional detachment allows them to compartmentalize, to distance themselves from the moral implications of their actions. This can make them incredibly dangerous, as they lack the innate aversion to causing harm that acts as a moral compass for most individuals. So, How do you recognize this high disgust threshold? It's about paying attention to their reactions, their responses to things that would typically elicit strong emotional responses in others. Do they exhibit a callous indifference to suffering? Do they engage in cruel acts without remorse? These are the red flags that should give you pause. The sixth sign we're going to explore delves into the subtle realm of nonverbal communication, specifically the way psychopaths focus their attention during conversations. Now, most people naturally focus on the eyes during social interactions. It's an instinctive behavior, a way of connecting, of gauging emotions, of establishing trust. But psychopaths often deviate from this norm. They tend to focus on the mouth rather than the eyes during conversations. This seemingly insignificant difference can reveal a lot about their underlying cognitive processes. The eyes are the windows to the soul. They convey a wealth of emotional information that psychopaths are often unable to process or simply choose to ignore. The mouth, on the other hand, is the source of language, of manipulation, of the carefully crafted words that they use to control and deceive. This shift in facial attention is subtle, but it can be a telling sign of their emotional detachment, their focus on manipulation rather than genuine connection. They're not interested in reading your emotions, in understanding your perspective. They're interested in controlling the narrative, in using language as a tool to achieve their own ends. So, how do you observe this difference in facial attention? It requires careful observation, a heightened awareness of nonverbal cues. During conversations, pay attention to where their gaze lingers. Do they maintain consistent eye contact? Or does their gaze flit towards the mouth, as if analyzing the words rather than connecting with the emotions behind them? These subtle shifts in attention can provide valuable insights into their underlying intentions. The seventh and final sign we're going to explore goes to the heart of compassion, the ability to recognize and respond to the emotional distress of others. Now, empathy is a fundamental aspect of human connection. It allows us to share in the joys and sorrows of those around us, to offer comfort and support in times of need. But psychopaths often exhibit a profound deficit in this area. They simply don't recognize or respond to emotional distress in the same way as others. They might fail to notice when someone is upset, offer inappropriate or insensitive responses, or even exploit the vulnerability of others for their own gain. This lack of empathy stems from their blunted emotional responses, their inability to truly grasp the emotional experiences of others. They see distress as a weakness, as an opportunity for manipulation, rather than a call for compassion. This missing distress response can manifest in various ways. They might remain indifferent to the suffering of others, offer empty platitudes instead of genuine comfort, or even use someone's vulnerability to gain control or extract favors. Their actions often reveal a callous disregard for the emotional well-being of those around them. So how do you recognize this missing distress response? It's about paying attention to their reactions, their responses to emotional cues. Do they offer genuine comfort and support? Do they acknowledge and validate the feelings of others? Or do they remain detached, indifferent, or even exploit the situation for their own gain? Thank you for taking the time to delve into the complex and often unsettling world of psychopathy. Remember, knowledge is power, and understanding the signs we've discussed can empower you to navigate interpersonal relationships with greater awareness and discernment. It's not about living in fear, but about equipping yourself with the tools to protect your emotional well-being. If you recognize these signs in someone you know, it's crucial to set firm boundaries, to prioritize your own safety and well-being. Remember, you cannot change or fix someone who lacks empathy, but you can control your own interactions and protect yourself from manipulation and harm. For more insights into the human psyche, the complexities of personality, and strategies for navigating challenging relationships, be sure to subscribe to this channel. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and remember, the truth, however unsettling, is always the best defense.